Good morning and welcome to the Killik and Co market update. French markets have been in focus this week. The French government collapsed after a vote of no confidence in Prime Minister Barnier, and that's after he tried to force through a budget that aimed to cut French debt by raising taxes and cutting spending. France does have a relatively high level of debt. The country's debt to GDP ratio stands at 112%, and that's significantly higher than Germany's, which is 62%. And to put those two into context, the UK's ratio is just under 100% at the moment. France's debt level was one reason why President Macron aimed to raise the state pension age from 62 to 64, and that has been a very unpopular policy in France. The recent lack of stability in French government has led to movements in government bond markets. When investors are more concerned about a country's ability to pay its debts, they will demand higher compensation for lending money to that country, and therefore government bond yields will rise. German government bond yields have historically been lower than French government bond yields. Investors feel more comfortable lending to Germany because the country has a lower overall debt level. On here we have French versus German 10-year government bond yields over the last decade. The French in the pink and the German in the green. French yields have always been higher, but you can see the gap between the two has widened considerably in recent weeks. The French yield is still only around 3%, so it's certainly not at crisis levels, but it's still interesting to see the gap widening between the two levels. This concern about France has also played out in the equity markets. Here's the French index, the CAC 40, over the last year. That's in the pink, and in comparison, we've got the wider Euro Stoxx index in the green. And then lastly, we have seen a weakening in the euro. Some of this will be due to Trump's tariff threats, but the euro has weakened against the pound too, suggesting there is something else at play here, given that both the UK and Europe have been threatened with these tariffs. Here's the one-year chart. £1 would buy €1.16 last year, and now it will buy over $1.21. This week, we had the latest PMI, or Purchasing Manager Index data for the UK services industry. These PMI surveys ask purchasing managers how they feel their business is doing this month in comparison to last month. All the responses are compiled into a score between 0 and 100. A score below 50 indicates contraction, and a score above 50 indicates expansion. The latest figure for the services industry in the UK was 50.8. which is above 50, but it's down from the level of 52 the previous month, suggesting we're not heading in the right direction. Here's the data over the last decade. You can see the dramatic impact of the various lockdowns, given that services businesses were the ones that had to close. Over the last few months, there is a clear downward trend, not helped by the autumn budget, which has significantly raised costs for employers. The downward trend is a concern given how important the services sector is to the UK economy. It makes up over 80% of our GDP. Manufacturing makes up 8.8%, with the rest coming from other areas including agriculture. Services businesses typically hope to do well over the Christmas period, so we'll be keeping a close eye on this data over the coming weeks. We've had very few companies reporting this week, but we did have results from Salesforce. The market was very happy with these results, and the shares gained 13% in after-hours trading after they were published. Part of the reason for the rise was the early success of a new product called Agentforce. This has been described as a customizable AI chatbot, and apparently Heathrow Airport is one of the early customers. Passengers of Heathrow will be able to interact with the chatbot throughout their journey and get updates on things like which gate they have to go to. Please do give us a call to hear more about how Salesforce fits into the AI landscape. Moving on to have a look at next week, we are expecting results out from Costco. That's it from us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.